Hey, McLovin, what can I do for you?
I want to see how my new line of eyewear is doing with your customers.
People love the McFocals. We're just having just a couple issues with them, though. Are you having any problems with your glasses?
No, everything's fine. Just keep selling. Keep selling as much as you can. Sell, sell, sell.
I'll let you go. Looks like it's about time for the box to go.
I don't know a lot about sports, but I can drink a lot of beer.
My motto is simple. C's get degrees.
Need a long, inappropriate hug? I'm your man.
I think I'm smarter than you, because I probably am.
Howard Collins for Box Score.
Hello and welcome to the Box Score. I'm Brock in Los Angeles. They are the Danettes in Milford, Connecticut. Guys, a lot of reflection on the career of Robin Williams. Seton, what was the mood of the room, sort of, when you guys came into work this morning?
Everybody was pretty bummed, actually, because we're all big fans of his work and his career, and we've had him on the show before, and it's just unfortunate when you lose a talent of that magnitude, and everybody has a story or has a favorite movie, things like that. So it's really a tragedy.
Yeah, it was really sad. I was watching a lot of CNN just to hear some of the different voices that were weighing in, celebrity types or people that have worked with him, whatever. But the mood was definitely different, and usually, for the most part in the morning, everybody's kind of chipper, and Dan's bouncing around, singing, dancing, and we're getting into some of the sports topics of the day. But it definitely hit home because we all have a close tie, whether it's a fan of his comedic work or movies he was in or what have you. But we all know Robin very well from his work, and it was horrible to hear that last night.
There's a weird thing when you work in almost any aspect of the media when a celebrity of his magnitude passes away. There's that shock, and then there's a moment or two of like, oh man, and then you kind of go to work and you're like, do we do something on this? Do we not do something on this? Who do we call? When do we call them? And so there's, I think for guys in the media like us or anybody who works in the media, there's a kind of a delayed reaction of sadness till the work is done. And so like last night we were writing around notes of who we could call for reaction to Robin Williams, and then this morning we did the same thing too, and we talked about it a little bit. But then usually when the show goes off the air, you're like, man, this guy's really gone, and he was such a talent. You think about that stuff, but in the moment, at least for me, I'm sad for a second, and then I kind of go to work, and it's kind of a scummy feeling, but it's also part of the job.
Yeah, I think it's, I think what we do and something like that, it's part of the cathartic process for, in a way, like there's like a community around the show, there's a community within the building, like, that's what you do. You sort of talk about when something bad happens. So even though I understand what you're saying, Paul, you didn't want to look at it like a producer. I mean, I remember one of the first series of stories I read is I was fascinated to see what his colleagues tweeted. Like Steve Martin had this unbelievably generous tweet about it, and like I found that really interesting. And we're part of that too. Our show goes out to a lot of people who want to hear about it and sort of share their emotions. So I think it is kind of weird to put on your work hat, but it's part of the the process.
You guys were lucky enough to have Robin Williams on last year, and it was a great interview. Fritzy, are there any elements of that interview that you remember most?
I just, right at the beginning, the fact that he seemed very comfortable with us, like he'd been on before and had a rapport with Dan, and the fact that he wasn't, granted he was promoting, a product, Snickers, I believe, with a commercial he was in, but there was no, major publicity element to it where he was making the rounds, at least as far as I know, where he was doing a whole bunch of interviews, and I found it very refreshing to hear him. He wasn't all over the place. He was funny and all that, but he wasn't like over the top or trying to force all those different voices he normally does. I thought it was pretty amazing the way he and Dan hit it off, and Dan had no previous relationship with the guy at all. I don't think he ever met him.
He's got an instantly recognizable voice that as soon as you hear him, you're like, whoa, that's definitely Robin Williams. He's also, lightning fast with the funniest one-liners. In 7 words, he can just cut you into pieces, and you're cracking up. But the thing that stood out to me was when he talked about, in a nice way, and something that I never really thought about, was the pressure for somebody like him to always be funny, because somebody finally gets their 10 seconds of seeing Robin Williams and meeting him, and they expect him to be that crazy guy all the time. And he's like, no, that's like, this is me, actually. I'm just like, I am smiling right now. This is who I actually am. I'm not performing right now for you.
Yeah, listening back, you know, knowing what we know now, you could almost, there was something very endearing about his voice, like immediately, like, you know, it wasn't like an over-the-top comedy thing. It's like he was almost had some distance from his, he was almost ironically commenting on his own comedy, and you just like, you really couldn't listen to that interview and not like him.
There was one part towards the end where Dan asked if he critiques himself, can he watch himself? He goes, oh, no, I can't watch myself. And Dan does the same thing. Dan will not watch what he does on TV anymore, and because he knows he will pick himself apart. And Robin Williams said the same, almost verbatim, what Dan says. It's like, oh, no, I can't watch myself, because all I'll think is, I should have done this here, I should have done that here. He can't enjoy his own performance.
Dan was good to keep it upbeat, not get too grim, but he did get a little emotional about the passing of Robin Williams. But he also got a little emotional about this aspect of the Tony Stewart incident.
For the TV executives, can we please, if you want to show that video, stop showing that man. He's 20 years of age. Stop showing him lying there dead. We know he's dead. If you want to show that leads to the accident, but stop showing him there. It's wrong.
I'm glad Dan said that, and I could appreciate the emotion there, and it took him a little time to compose himself, and it was a good thing we were getting ready, I guess, to go to break there. You know, normally, Paul has jumped in on a number of occasions when, after several seconds have gone by, and he thinks that Dan can use a little anchor, a little saving, for lack of a better word, to help pull him through. He got caught up in the moment there, and he obviously felt very passionately, as we all do, about that, and the not being a necessity to show the kid lying there, dying, or dead at that point. It was very gruesome and disturbing, and I'm glad Dan A made that point, and B gave himself the extra time to compose himself and not try to jump in or segue uncomfortably into Manziel or some other sports topic.
NBC anchor Brian Williams very eager to weigh in on the subject. Fritzy, when did he reach out to you?
Yesterday we had reached out because we have a show upcoming in New York on Friday, and we've been periodically touching base with Brian and his reps at NBC to find out when he can join us in studio. And I got a note back saying he was getting ready to go on vacation, that he'll join us at a later date in studio, but he'd love to come on over the phone tomorrow, being today. And he's a big racing fan and wanted to get his word and get his thoughts out on the Tony Stewart tragedy. And I'm glad he did, and I thought it was very interesting listening to him. I didn't realize he was that passionate a fan of racing, and it was interesting to see not only his points on what happened, but also what video to use and when from a journalistic standpoint. And I thought it made a lot of sense to put him on today.
Yeah, he had a deep understanding of the race and the subject matter, and had this take to share with DP.
It's fair to include everything we know to be true. Tony, I think, hooked up to a polygraph, would admit to the word hothead. He's always driven with great passion, sometimes with great anger as his motivator. He also comes to dirt tracks and small tracks honestly, but he at least approaches this part of the sport with maybe not humility, but with great respect for it and great knowledge that dirt track racing is a different animal. But I think we can keep gathering the evidence based on what we're allowed to see and know.
I'll tell you what was going through my mind when he was saying that. I so admire people who could speak eloquently off the cuff. Bob Costas, Brian Williams, many other people we've had on this show. It's such a talent and a developed skill. It's both a talent and a skill that you develop over many years. But he speaks like he's writing a column that was perfected and written. He does not know one question we're about to ask. He's on a phone, probably sitting in an office, and I just find that there's a handful of people in this industry, and that's why guys like him make $10 million plus a year, is because no matter what they're asked, they could speak eloquently, clearly, and fairly about things like that. It's such an impressive skill. I know we're also thinking about the content and what he's saying in the Tony Stewart story, but in the moment, I'm also impressed by someone's skill.
I'm sure we'll have more things on the subject as it develops. Stay with us. The guys can run a board, book guests, but can they run a franchise? We will find out. Welcome back to the Box Score. Drake recently in the news because he cost the Raptors $25,000 for a shout-out to Kevin Durant. Fritzy, is there a musician that you would or wouldn't want associated with the Broncos?
Run DMC and Hall & Oates come to mind. I think it would be pretty awesome if they were somehow involved with the Broncos, kind of combine some of my favorite musical acts or performers with my favorite sports team. So if I saw some story that Daryl Hall was somehow involved, or Daryl Mack, or something like that, or Reverend Run, I think that would be really cool. I don't think they have much knowledge about how to run a football team, but if they needed the money of the team and they wanted to step in, that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, if I was going to go a rap group to own a Chicago sports team, I'd go off the board a little bit, go third base. MC Search has a lot of skills.
Ooh, the Cactus album.
Yeah. But otherwise, I would go, you know me, Rush. They could just play at halftime of every single game, and that would kick ass.
Well, for me, Philly, Will Smith, goes to Sixers games. He
can actually afford the team.
Yeah, and he can afford the team. Now, is he a rapper though? I don't know. He's getting jiggy with it still. Or is he more known for other things? The Roots would obviously be the cooler version, but I don't think the Roots can afford a team because they keep it real.
Wu-Tang is for the children, so I don't know how it also starts and stops with the Wu-Tang Clan. If I could go back to like 90s Wu-Tang too and get the whole band back together,
ODB.
That would be pretty great. If I just had to pick one group of musicians though, no doubt it would be Dave Grohl and Chris Novoselic. So I could then finally get them in studio or meet them or become best friends with them and hang out and go vacation with them and drink beer.
That's probably going to happen.
Tickle fights and stuff like that. That's what I want.
It's okay. Relax.
Tickle fights and vacation.
Do you think they would say, Seton, why don't you jump on a guitar and you can sing for us and we'll do some old numbers?
Great.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise and take off your hats as ODB sings the national anthem. Rest in peace. I'm sure running a franchise would be fun, but we asked the boss which franchise would be the most fun. Here's what he said in Boss's thoughts.
I guess the Cowboys. I didn't know they had a party bus. You got the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders. Your owner certainly likes to have a good time. So the expectation level is not too high in Dallas. I'd say the Cowboys would be a pretty fun franchise to be involved in.
Well, I'm not sure if I'm surprised or not surprised by Dan picking the Cowboys. Although he's got to take Tony Romo, which is frustrating and disappointing. You do get an awesome new stadium, immediately $1 billion. Oh boy, it seems like Dan's sort of the anti-Cowboys though, isn't he? He doesn't want all of that attention and everything.
Corporate.
He's an Irish pub beer and wings guy, so I don't really know what Dan's going for there.
Paulie, let me put the same question to you, but it can't be your favorite franchise. Which franchise would you run if given the chance?
Oh, in the United States, because I would probably go soccer, but if it was in the United States, oh man.
You could still go soccer in the United States, by the way.
You know what, that's true. I would go...
Hello, Portland Timbers.
Yeah, I would probably go up to the Portland Timbers or the LA Galaxy. Portland Timbers, I liked it up there. They've already got a great franchise. They don't need my help, but I could just put my feet up in one of those nice offices and watch what was going on.
I may go San Diego Padres. You got a nice long season. You enjoy the spring and summer months and kick back and just sit in your nice luxury box, not Philip Rivers, and just kind of have some fun and bring the family out to one of the nicest places in the country to live and run the Padres.
Geez, I'm the front runner, and the team that jumps to my mind is Seattle Seahawks because they just won the Super Bowl. They're super good, and I feel like that's a lot of everyone loves you there. There's nothing but positivity, so I'll go Seattle.
No, probably the Red Sox, or the Celtics, or the Bruins, or the Patriots.
All good choices coming up. Does the back row know anything about each other? We will find out. It's Know Your Row next.
It's from Justin in Minnesota. My wife recently got into the show. Yes. And she asked me a good question. She just said, what did the Danettes do? I answered that I knew Fritzy booked everyone, but other than him, I have no idea. Can you clear up what Paulie, McLovin, and Seton do? Love the show. Keep me going. Justin, I don't know.
Welcome back to the Box Score. The boss clearly has no idea what you guys do for him. So that inspired us to ask each and every one of you, what you did for money when you first started off. Let's find out in another edition of...
Know Your Pros!
Let's begin in the back row. Fritzy, what was McLovin's first paying job?
I believe he talked, I don't know if it was his first job, but I know it was some type of law assistant or clerk.
Hey, you know what, Brock, can I jump in here? I just want to clarify before we start going. Are we saying first ever in our life or first after college?
First job you got paid for.
Interesting.
First job you got paid for.
Oh boy, I wonder if that was clear in the answers that we gave. This could be.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep my answer on that.
Was it, well, I mean, was it paralegal? Is that what you said?
Yes.
My first real job that I got paid for, I worked at the local deli.
Ooh.
Yeah, that was paralegals. You were right. It was way down the road. You guys didn't know that I can make a mean sub, but we called them hoagies in Philadelphia.
Ah.
So if you ever need a sandwich, I'm your guy.
Local deli.
Hoagies and grinders. Hoagies and grinders. Front row, Paulie. What was Seaton's answer?
His first paying job. See, I know he was many jobs, such as the mail department, the
postal service.
I don't think that was his
guard.
first job. I don't see him as a lifeguard. He drank a lot and got in trouble, but I don't think that's a job. Oh, God. I'm going to say newspaper boy.
Was it newspaper boy?
Like not a paper route. My first job ever was at Medora Pharmacy in South Danville, New Jersey. I was like a clerk there, like swept up the floors and ran the cash register and stuff. And that was in high school. I was like 14 at the time. Yeah, see, I figured like I had a paper route, and I did get like.
Did you get paid for that paper route? At all?
Well, why else would I have done it?
Brock, does that count?
No, because that didn't match his answer. That's why it didn't. Back to the back row, McLovin.
See,
what was Fritzy's job?
Now, I don't know if he ever did this, but I'd like to think he did. I think Fritzy's job, back when he had the Hasselhoff hair, walked around Coney Island with a belt, he better have been a lifeguard
Can we do a steal
at Brighton Beach.
Can we steal this?
Brock, just for bonus points, can we input our guess after McLovin?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Todd worked at like a little corner store or something where he sold all the candy and ice cream really cheap and got in trouble for it.
Was that during summer camp?
Oh man, it might be. It might be, but he got in trouble for where like this nerds, like a box of nerds would be like $1 and he'd be like, just give me a quarter for it.
He was undercharging rampantly.
Yeah.
Was it a clerk or a lifeguard?
Camp counselor. Actually, sorry about that. First job I got paid for was delivering the New York Post in Brooklyn, followed by camp counselor. Yeah, that was a tough one. I have mentioned a number of times about this candy thing that I got in trouble for when this cute little kid comes over and they, and I'm supposed to charge them like $3 for a frozen piece of pizza, and all they had was like 75 cents or something, and I just kind of made my own prices. But yeah, I walked around the neighborhood delivering the New York Post, and then eventually became a camp counselor after that.
To this date, that's the wildest thing you've ever done in your life is undercharging this list.
That's the exciting life that I lead, and to this day, I felt a little guilt over it because the person running the camp was the principal at my mom's school, and he was threatening to fire my mom, who was a teacher there.
So where you were undercharging everything was at the camp?
It was. It was part of a camp.
But Paperboy was the first job.
Paperboy's one again.
And it was Willy Wonka's Nerds, so you don't get to run the chocolate factory and no one gets to move in. Last one. This is for the win.
I say
Front row.
good day, sir.
Good day. Seaton, what did Paulie say?
Man, this is a tough one because there's not a lot known about Paul pre-Dan Patrick's show. That's why I kind of think that this is his like witness protection program.
Okay.
Or he's like a secret agent or something, which is currently on his resume. But Paul is sort of an all-American Midwest guy. I'm gonna say a paper route.
Was it a paper route?
Or a caddy?
My first job where I actually made money, I was a paper boy for a day and then quit, and so I never made any money. I was a caddy for one summer, and it was good cash. Good cash.
Dude, both of those! Both of them!
I think
yeah! Do you believe that?
Does Seton get credit for having both sides of the incident?
I'd say Paperboy or a caddy.
Yes, extra points. You win it
That
all.
is not how Know Your Row works.
You win it all. The Barca Lounger, the
You
carpet,
took two guesses.
the car,
That is pretty impressive that he guessed
the
both of those.
salad dressing.
We could protest it, but that was pretty.
Protest.
No, let's keep things as they always are. The front row wins Know Your Row. Stay with us. Things get a little funky and stinky. Stay with us.
Do you think basketball players use deodorant right before they go on the court?
Yeah.
Is that standard, you think?
Not standard. I've been around guys who obviously don't have any deodorant on.
You ever play basketball against someone who may not have showered that day?
On purpose, yes. Yeah.
On purpose?
Yes.
Welcome back to the Box Score. Last call here at the Box Score Bar. In the first hour, the subject of body odor came up. Fritzy, maybe it's not a sports story, but have you had a run-in with someone that had a powerful funk?
There was a time in Brooklyn I was in an elevator. Thankfully, it wasn't a very long ride, but there was an old lady that could have used, we hear these stories about you don't want to go to your grandma's house because it smells like cats or has some kind of strange odor. But thankfully, we didn't get stuck in the elevator, and it was a real quick ride down to the lobby. But that was pretty bad. As far as during athletic competition, there have been a couple of times on the playground there where there's always one kid that you don't want to guard because he just doesn't believe in soap, or as soon as they start sweating, it's just they start to reek.
More often on the basketball court, I found there was guys who stink of booze, either from the night before. Those are the guys you gotta watch. Like if you're playing pickup with a guy shows up in jeans and he smells like Jack Daniels, you don't want to guard him.
Oh boy, I guess sports-wise, I wrestled when I was a kid, and occasionally there'd be a kid who didn't smell great. My worst smell story is I was driving home from Eastern Illinois University back to Southern Illinois University, and the guy next to me in the car smelled so bad for multiple reasons that it was a rainstorm. I had my head out the window to get air, just getting pelted with rain for 2 straight hours, and it was a pleasure.
There was one time I was in West Virginia, and I was taking like a geology class or something, I don't know, and you had to share a desk with somebody, and the girl I was sitting next to, we usually sat next to each other, and she was real cool and everything, and one day I was sitting next to her and her breath stunk really, really bad. It was like super gnarly, like way gross, and I was kind of like trying to like cover myself up and not be too obvious so I didn't embarrass her, and she totally caught on to what I was doing, and I felt really, really awful about it, actually. I don't feel as bad as her breath smelled, but it was really close. No offense.
For me, it's family gatherings. I mean, you always know your own brand, and they always clear the room. God love you, people. DP also broke down playing against someone who got very wet on the court today.
I had a guy who I knew who would sweat, and it would be cold sweat, and it was like clammy. And I remember, when you're guarding him, and I would never guard him. I'd just stay off of him. Like, go ahead, do whatever you want to do. Just don't rub up against me.
Was it Berman?
No, it wasn't Berman.
For some reason, that mine and that Ben Stiller, Philip Seymour Hoffman basketball scene comes up. Ben Stiller's a germaphobe, and he's going up and he's rubbing against the hairy thing. There's nothing grosser than interaction on the basketball court. I mean, for some reason, we let it go. Like, Paulie, I always thought wrestling was the grossest
Wrestling
thing.
is the worst.
The smells are awful.
The smells are the worst.
Yeah.
The wrestling mats and the areas you work out in are the worst. And the areas you have your face. Like basketball, my head is going to be around the other guy's head. In wrestling, your head could be in a lot of different places, and you can't go, oh, timeout, you smell bad.
On that note, Fritzy, who is on tomorrow?
Shaquille O'Neal will join us tomorrow, and also the voice of the SEC, ESPN college football analyst Paul Feinbaum.
Also
he's got a new book out that
smeller.
will be part of things on Wednesday as well.
Lots of funky stuff. Thanks for watching the Box Score. Set your DVR or tune in weekdays at 3 p.m. Eastern, only on Audience Channel 239, right here on DirecTV.
I don't know a lot about sports, but I can drink a lot of beer.
My motto is simple. C's get degrees.
Need a long, inappropriate hug? I'm your man.
I think I'm smarter than you, because I probably am.
Hey, thanks for watching the Box Score. Holy cow!